Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown. This is going to be my co-host, Michael Anthony, a.k.a. Mr. Dynasty Dogs, one half of Dynasty Dogs. It's a brand new series brought to you by CF Nation. We've got 9 weeks approximately before the NFL draft. We just want to talk about some prospects that you guys should get familiar with, and some guys you maybe aren't familiar with. So just stay tuned and enjoy the ride. Mike, how are we doing?
Pretty good, man. I'm super excited to be part of this. This is going to be probably the hardest episode with the quarterbacks tonight, but it still should be fun nonetheless. I can't wait.
I think it'll be nice for the audience, the viewers. So they'll be able to get two different aspects on guys. Who knows? Maybe we'll agree on some things. I have a funny feeling we'll probably butt heads, but that's the whole point of the show, is to get two different sides of it. So how we feel about different prospects in the quarterback class. A lot of guys say this is crap. Maybe we agree that it is crap, and maybe we won't agree that it's crap. Maybe there's some diamonds in the rough. But we're going to start off this episode with a segment that I like to call This Guy or That Guy. I'm gonna bring out two guys. Me and Mike are gonna, conversate about what we like about them on certain topics when it comes to the grouping. So right off the rip, we're gonna talk about Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers or Louisville quarterback Tyler Shough. Now, when we talk about this guy, that guy, when it comes to these three categories: game manager, deep throws, and game on the line, what QB would you rather have? I don't want to put you on the spot, Mike, but it's episode 1. The people want to know which one you want. Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shough.
If you were to ask me if this is just based on film, I almost prefer Tyler Shough over Quinn Ewers. If you were to tell me everything else included, injury history, a little bit of inconsistencies with Tyler Shough, I'd probably go Quinn Ewers. Just because that you mentioned one of the categories was deep ball. Quinn Ewers might have one of the worst deep balls I have ever seen. And the problem, in his defense, I will give him, he has some of the fastest wide receivers in football he's throwing to, right? But you've been working with these guys for years. You've been working with them in practice every single day. You think you'd be able to figure it out. But Tyler Shough, in a class full of guys that I'm kind of leading it a little bit here, but a class full of guys that are just kind of hit the open guy, get the ball out quick. Tyler Shough has some, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, has some pretty good throws on film, some out of structured throws, good on the run. I kind of prefer him slightly on film.
Okay. And off the rip, I agree with what you're saying, as well as, when it comes to before and after, guys that didn't really watch film or maybe look at the stat patterns, they may want to go Quinn Ewers. For 2 years, I've been talking about Texas. I thought they were, a title contender, and then they were right there for 2 seasons. Quinn's kind of been like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of from game to game. My thing is when I come, the 3 categories that I talked to you about was deep throws, game in, and deep throws. Okay. They're right about the same when it comes to game on the line. I need you to make a big throw, or we need a big throw right here. They're close, right around 20 to 21 each guy. But when it comes to, that one was bad. That one could have been a turnover. That one was a turnover. That's a pick 6. Quinn has almost triple the amount that Shough has. We haven't seen the progression really with Quinn. And I know you said injury history. They both have injury history.
Fair. Yeah, I forgot.
But what I will say is when 100% healthy, I think the better body of work comes from Tyler Shough, and it's come from 2 different teams. Played well at Texas Tech, right? Played well at Louisville. I know 1 year at Texas Tech was shortened, but he's mobile, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to game management, game on the line, a guy that can get out there and get the extra yards. He makes multiple, angled throws. It's different arm movement, which Quinn can. I think Shough has more mobility to him when it comes to where he can throw the ball to. But he's got 2 different style systems that he's played in. Better at that. So when it comes to game on the line, I think I might take Shough. And then this is the last one. Game on the line. Maybe you have to be a game manager. Maybe you have to make a deep throw. Who's going to read the pressure better? Who's going to be able to manufacture himself in the pocket better? Quinn Ewers just eats sacks, bro. This is what he does. He has more than double the amount of sacks taken than Tyler Shuck. So I'm gonna have to go Shuck here. And I was a Quinn
Yeah,
Ewers guy earlier, but I'm gonna have to go with Tyler Shuck here.
I will agree with you on that. I do have, though, in my notes for Shuck is that his decision making at times under pressure is a little wishy washy. He will put the ball a little bit in danger, but I think Quinn is definitely worse at that. If you were to tell me to pick the two with the game on the line, and again, that mobility aspect you mentioned about Shuck is kind of underrated. He's not a guy who's going to rush for a whole lot. I have like 30 rushes, 132 yards, but he's got some good movement skills for a dude that's 6'4", I think 230 plus pounds, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, give me Shuck over him, but I have Ewers ranked higher by one spot just because of, I think the NFL is going to look at a bunch of different things, not just the film, like obviously.
No, I agree with you. The NFL will look at a bunch of things, and then when it comes to the combine, the more athletic guy will kind of wow everybody. One thing that Quinn couldn't get out of was to talk about he couldn't throw the deep ball accurately.
That's the worst thing. He,
they
like you mentioned earlier, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I think a couple weeks ago I tweeted out something with the Lilo from Lilo and Stitch, where he's like scraping his face. It's like you watch him and it's like, wow, it's a really good throw, and then the next play is literally like one of the worst throws I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and
like, what are you doing, man?
They said about Worthy, Worthy might have had some drops, but the ball wasn't placed accurately to him consistently. So what did they did this year is they went and got guys who can run the short and intermediate routes quickly, and who was the better guy? Golden, right? He ended up being the top wide receiver then down the stretch because Bond, who's the deep ball guy, took the hit. So I agree with you here with Chuck, and I think that with the Senior Bowl, how we did well, how he's kind of stacking things, the interview process, I think he might be on the rise, and maybe people will agree with us as well. The next group, this guy or that guy, I'll lead this one off. Jalen Milroe, O'Reilly Leonard. Okay, and I kind of put them in a box because they're kind of similar, right? Mobile quarterbacks, not really too accurate when it comes to throwing the deep ball, but like I said, super athletic. So the key things I want to talk about was mobility, arm strength, and just all around QB smarts. We'll talk about the deep ball, right? Like they're both really mobile, but they Milroe has way more, I think, in my opinion, of a stronger arm. Okay.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that offenses and coordinators realize that because Milroe threw the deep ball about a little over 17% of the time this year. Okay. Now it wasn't accurate, 33%. That's not really accurate, but he did have 9 or 10 touchdowns with the deep ball, close to 900 yards.
I have a screenshot of Riley Leonard's. I'm going to pull up real quick. His deep ball stuff. Look at him.
10%. He threw the deep ball only 10%.
10% of the time, right? 20 or 43 attempts, 20 completions, 46% completion percentage. That's awful. And to me, it's not only awful, like for a guy who is, what did I have down for him? 6'3", 210 pounds, right? You look at that frame and in your mind, you think big, strong-armed, can rifle it down the field. He is not that, and it's super surprising to me. He almost has like a noodle arm for a deep ball, to be honest. Like it's not awful, but I feel like it's very confusing. I don't understand it for some reason. Milroe's arm is way stronger than his, in my opinion.
But it's super inaccurate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Leonard did throw less, but he was almost 20% more accurate when throwing the deep ball. I'm gonna make like a comparison here for the people at home that may want to put these guys in superstar status. I don't think either one of these guys is superstar status, but Jalen Milroe is closer to Lamar Jackson than Riley Leonard is closer to Tim Tebow, and that's what people want to kind of put them in a box of the style they play. If you look at Lamar Jackson's stats from his senior season at Louisville, deep ball percentage 17.9. Milroe was 17.3. Rushing yards. Lamar had a lot more rushing yards, but he was at like almost like 1,400 yards. I want to say, not this guy had 900. Milroe had 920 touchdowns. So he's closer to Lamar Jackson. Milroe is than Riley Leonard is to Tim Tebow. And I mean, if those are the the pinnacle of what you want to put him at for the style of play that these guys are, I guess I'd have to take Jalen Milroe here.
Yeah.
I think both of these guys are projects, right? I honestly don't think Riley Leonard is really an NFL quarterback. I think he has so much to get over the hurdle. You got to get out of that run first mentality off the rip. We've seen that in Mobile, like even in drills, man. I'll run. Like, we know you can run,
It's
bro.
insane to think about that he was doing that, but
We're
yeah.
here to see you throw, bro. Even if you
Right.
miss, just throw. We want to see how the ball looks. We want to see what the placement is. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go Milrow here. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going Milrow here as well. I will say though, in Riley Leonard's side of things, when he was playing within structure, when he had to get the ball out quick, quick slant, stuff like that, he's actually not that bad at anything like that. But when things start to kind of like, you have to throw the ball a little over 10 yards, you have to make a throw on the run. He's not
Yeah.
that guy. Jalen Milrow, though, again, we've talked about the inaccuracies. Also, we don't have to talk about an injury history with Jalen
Right.
Milrow. Leonard has a pretty extensive one as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he played at Alabama with two different coaches. I know going from Nick Saban to names escaping me right now.
The ball.
Yeah. So that has to be a big, we even saw statistically he took a step back, Jalen Milrow.
Two offensive systems, two different
Yep.
schemes, right? You went from Tommy Rees to Nick Sheridan. So, like, yeah, it wears on a guy. Hey, whatever. I'll give him one thing. Mentally, he says
Tough
everything
kid.
right. Tough kid. Got benched, came back, got better
Mhm.
after the benching. So, I guess leadership when it comes to stuff like that. Riley Leonard's, I'm not trying to knock the kid, but when I got two prospects and I'm a GM and, say it's a third, fourth round and I need a quarterback, whether it be for depth or possibly in a year or two, I'm taking Jalen Milrow here.
I could see Milrow getting late second round capital to a team that he could sit behind, like you mentioned it, I think down at the Senior Bowl. If he had the chance to sit behind like a Jalen Hurts or something like that, that would be perfect for him. The Eagles probably aren't going to do that. We just won the Super Bowl. I just wanted to throw that out.
You have the luxury. You have a luxury.
Yeah, so we have a luxury pick at this point. But like you could also, the Ravens could make that case. Buffalo, I mean, they don't have a backup quarterback, right? That could be a good spot for him. Listen, if he could sit behind somebody and develop a quarterback kind of like him, I think it would be a good for him to get second round capital. Leonard, probably fourth, fifth at the best.
Yeah, I think his name, what he's done playing going from Duke Notre Dame, playing at Notre Dame, being on TV every week, going deep into the playoff. I think he will. Once he hits the combine too, he's a super freak athlete.
Oh yeah,
could have played basketball for Duke as well. But
that first drive in the championship game,
14 rushes attempted, killed the kid.
That's ballsy right there, man. That showed me something. But the thing is like you got to take a whole body of work into account, right? But he's a tough kid, another tough mentality kid.
I know people crush me. I'll say it again. Jalen Milrow is closer to Lamar Jackson than Riley Leonard is to Tim Tebow. All right, the last one of this guy or that guy, Dylan Gabriel or Cam Miller. I want to talk about the short QB on the center and the scheme QB and what will it translate to the NFL. Mike, you go first.
Oh, man. So they have Cam Miller listed at 6'1". I don't think that's the case. That's what I had seen listed. But, man, talk about how I was kind of surprised actually liking him a little more than I thought I was going to, right? I think I was watching the first game. I forget which one it was. Let me pull it up here. I have my notes. Colorado. Man, he has got a little bit of zip on that ball when it comes. He's good at getting it out quickly, good at getting the first read, a good processor too. Let's not forget that. North Dakota State quarterback. The correct answer is Dylan Gabriel, right? Because he went to Oregon. He's going to get that better draft capital. But to be honest, I don't see much of a difference between him and Cam Miller.
Ooh, I like that. Dylan Gabriel's played in offenses, that are schemed up to him. Oklahoma, Oregon. And Oregon plays in that spread offense, 55, 65 plays, fast, speed. Don't have to play under center. A lot of motion. Cam Miller has a strong arm. Cam Miller is good in that first read, maybe get off to the second read, but that's kind of where it ends. Deep ball is kind of like Katy Perry. It's hit or miss, right?
Cold.
Back show throw. I don't know if he's got that in his bag. He can once in a while. But he was kind of, if you're a guy that doesn't scout the helmet and scouts just by looking at, stats or whatever. I mean, his stats kind of jump off the page here.
What was it? I think when I watched the Montana game, they said 54 straight starts or something like that for him. He's played a bit and he's held up. North Dakota State has had, 2 first-round quarterbacks that really haven't, developed into anything.
Right.
But You know, like I said, good mobility. He rushed 128 times, 734 yards, 12 TDs. And then the year before that, 126 rushes, 723 yards, and 13 TDs. Man, listen, I kind of like Cam Miller slightly better than Dylan Gabriel, to be honest with you. I think the arm is stronger. I think they're essentially the same quarterback. They play a very similar game, to be honest, in my opinion. Get the ball out quick. I think, but Cam has the better velocity on the ball than Dylan Gabriel does.
He's more consistent with the deep throw. I agree with you
Mhm.
100% there. I think he could take more snaps, under center.
72.9% completion percentage this year.
Right now, and I got to understand,
That's insane.
schemes are totally different.
Oh,
Okay,
for
you
sure.
got a spread scheme, right? That
Mhm.
focuses on that short and intermediate game, and then once you get the guys to bite, you go over the top. North Dakota State's heavy run scheme, right? More developed on the play. The pass comes more developed off the play action.
Yeah.
Tons of wide receivers, tight ends, double backs in motion. Like that, they're schemed up off that. He does a lot of RPO where he rolls out, right? Gets guys to bite, gets a pass, dumps it for 10 yards, goes for 40. So the numbers are skewed up, but I think at the next level, I'm not saying this kid's a starter, right?
Mm-mm.
But I think at the next level, Cam Miller's game might translate a little bit more to the NFL than Dylan Gabriel does. And I think if he gets to a place where he could be a backup, he might have a longer career in the NFL as being maybe, just that
A spot
Chase
starter.
Daniels type guy,
Mhm.
10, 12 years in the NFL. Never really, that guy, but get to start here and there.
I will say for dynasty purposes, to bring this up, I'm not drafting Dylan Gabriel at all. I'm not touching him. I'm going to take the running backs, the tight ends, and possibly wide receivers over him where he's going to go in dynasty drafts. Cam Miller might not even get drafted in your dynasty rookie drafts, right? He's probably going to be a free agent pickup at some point after your drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be more willing to take that gamble on him than I would wasting a rookie pick on Dylan Gabriel.
Listen, I was going to say, if teams are willing to take a shot on Jake Haener, right, who got some 2 or 3 starts at the NFL level, then I think teams are going to be willing to take a shot on Cam Miller. I know he's going to bring that rainy cloud of Trey Lance with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Carson Wentz.
But yeah, right. Well, but he had
flashes,
good production for a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think the kid has a shot, and like I said, I think he has a shot to be spot start. Could be a backup for maybe 8 to 10 years. Make himself a bag. Never be a one, but be a guy that could be a great scout team quarterback, right? Like he's a guy mobile, can throw the ball deep. So when you're playing against these guys with big arms, he's a guy that could really help your defense. You know what I mean?
Bo Nix is back up, maybe.
Exactly. There's plenty of teams that could take a shot on him. Again, now with NIL, those 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks are kind of crapshoots. A lot of teams will package them together to get up a little bit. So he could get a 5th round. He could get in that 5th and 6th round draft slot.
I'm thinking.
So I got him right there as well. So yeah, I'm going to take Cam Miller.
I was going to ask you, is that who you're taking?
Over Dylan Gabriel, even though I'm an Oregon guy, I'm not blind, bro. I watch football. So we're gonna do a quick commercial break. I'm gonna gotta pay the bills, and then we're gonna get right back to we got something special coming in. Listen, if you like gambling, right, then go to Bet Us. They will match you 125% match bonus on your first deposit if you use the promo code CFB Nation. Now listen, any way you want. It could be NBA, it could be UEFA, Champions League, whatever you like. Bet Us has you covered. Once again, check out CFB Nation as a promo code and get 125% match bonus. Bet Us. We're back. I got a guy. He's coming in right now. Hold on 1 second.
What's going on?
My man, Andy fam. My guy is the hottest thing going out in Utah. He's the scout on the come up. He's got all these kids, DM and hitting him up. And my man is Nose Ball joining us for the first episode of Road to the Draft. Andy, how we doing, buddy?
Good, man. What was that promo code again? I gotta get that promo code, man.
It's CFB Nation, man. 125% match on your first deposit.
That's what it is, man.
I love it. I miss my guy. My guy's been cooking out there in Utah. I'm glad to have him on the show. Mike, I told you I had a surprise.
Yeah,
Episode 1, we're
that
coming
will
with the
call me
bangers,
off
baby.
guard. Yeah, that will call me off guard. What's up, Andy? How you doing?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Can't
Good.
complain. I'm excited, bro. I'm excited. Excited to have you on. I'm excited for this segment with you, right? QBs 3 through 5. Got a feeling you might be cutting me up a little bit, but I'm ready for it, man. It's been a while since we've been able to talk some. Mike, you want to go first and talk to me who you got at QB3, and then I'll give you mine?
We're going QB3 first? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to go. All right, we'll go 5. We'll go from the bottom up, all right?
Okay. So I got Will Howard at 5, Ohio State quarterback. Actually came away a little bit more impressed with him than I thought I was going to. Again, another one of those guys. We talked about it earlier. Not a whole lot of wow throws at all through any of these quarterbacks on tape. But Will Howard has some, right? But I also think, Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, all of those guys kind of help him out a little bit. But he's my number 5. I think he could get day 2 draft capital.
I like it. Will Howard, to me, I've been saying since the playoff started, he found his inner Bo Nix for the playoff, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect game manager, was hitting on all cylinders. I've had a discussion, a very intricate and amped up discussion on CFB Nation just this week alone about Will Howard saying people, Booker, he didn't benefit in the playoff. It wasn't like they carried him. He was making the throws. He was over 70% completion percentage in 3 out of the 4 games in the playoff, right? He had 2 games on the ground where he had 50 or more yards. I think it clicked for him finally. All right. Now, at Kansas State, he didn't have anything. Ben Sanu was his best option. Like, come on, man. Like, we got to give the guy a little bit of credit. I'm not saying he's, top 3 quarterback in the class. I'm just saying on this little run this year, he made the right decision to go to Ohio State. And in the run, it kind of was a little bit more of him than it was them guys bailing him out. So I kind of agree. I don't know if I would have Howard at 5, but I think he kind of maybe in that 5 to 7 round now since the playoff and the end of the year. So I don't hate on it.
He kind of gives me a little bit more mobile, like Kirk Cousins kind of quarterback. Game manager, can make some decent throws, kind of in that ilk, which translates well.
I said on the show the other day, he's got a Brock Purdy vibe to me. I think he could be, I know Purdy was super efficient and he maybe didn't have as much. He had Hutchinson, right? He had, there was a tight end they had Brees Hall. So there was guys he had, but he gives me kind of that Brock Purdy-ish. He could maybe be Brock Purdy-ish in the right system at the next level. At 5 for me, it's the guy we kind of talked about already. I got Chuck at 5. I think what he's done, 2 schools. You mentioned, he only had 135 yards on the ground, 104, whatever it was. He's had, 3 years where he's had almost 150 to 200 yards rushing. Injuries didn't really help him, but he is mobile. He has a great touch on the ball, right? He can throw the ball deep. When it comes to talking, in that 3 to 5, guys that can probably make the better of those tight window layered throws over the linebackers, hands. I think he's better at that than that in that 3 to 5 range. He's probably the better one of it. Played in multiple offenses, multiple style offenses, and he's been good. He's gotten better and better as the year goes on in both of those offenses. I think he's done enough. Playing under center at the Senior Bowl, in the interview process, he just continues to get better and better. I think he's kind of, for me, locked in at that 5 spot. I think everything he brings to the table, pre-snap, his cadence, I think he's an NFL quarterback. Like I said, he's got a deep ball that he can throw, but he is that bucket throw, that touch pass, chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Andy,
I agree with that.
Talk to us about the 5 slots and what are your thoughts on them?
My QB5 is Jalen Milroe. I don't like that at all. I don't like him at all, but I mean, it's pretty much by default. He does have some traits that I do like about that. He does have a good cannon of an arm, not a great processor. I think with him, for his best fit at the next level, he needs to go to a Sean McVay type system where it's quick reads, one type of read and go. Mm-hmm. That's what he did best at Alabama under Saban, when it was very simple, one read and react. So I think if he goes to a spot where if he sits for a year, sits for 2 years, maybe put him in as like a wildcat option the first year, get him some play that way, get him some comfortable in NFL setting. I think he's got a chance to make it at the next level. He should get the draft capital, but again, I'm not a big fan of him, but he is a player I think is the most landing draft capital dependent scheme fit type player that there is in the draft. If he goes to a system where he's got to go to like 2, 3, 4 reads, he's done. But if it's in that system where it's one read and go, I think he's got a shot.
I got a question for you. Would you like him with Pete Carroll in Oakland?
No.
I think
that might be tough.
He has to go to a system where also he has the receivers. Like there has to be all the mechanics to work with him. He's got to have quick backs with hands. He's got to have good slot receivers. Like I think everything for him has got to be in the short and intermediate. Like you said, quick reads, one and go. So maybe Cleveland might be a spot where he could have some success. I know they're obviously moving on from Watson, whether they got to eat that contract or whatever, but having that second surgery, really having no depth, doesn't seem like they want Jameis Winston to be the guy. They haven't bought into DTR, right? So it's like there's a team that needs some stuff, doesn't necessarily need to reach on him, could probably get him in the second or third round, however they feel, suffice. But I think that type of offense, I think the players there with Judy being a guy, with Cedric Tillman being, two guys that are quick, can get the ball too quick, and they can kind of carry you with the yardage after that. I think it might work. What they do on the running back, Ford's not a bad receiving back. You have Njoku, who's a dude. So like the pieces there would work, in my opinion.
That's a good one. I like that as well. Especially because you mentioned the wide receivers. Jerry Jeudy's one of the best separators in all of football. It just has, hands for feet, or feet for hands.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't mind that either. I don't mind it.
All right. Let's get to QB4. I'll start this one off. I'm probably going to get a lot of slack from both of you guys here, but that's okay. I went with Kyle McCord here, Syracuse quarterback. Absolute strong arm. You want to talk about just the field general will absolutely dice you and rip you apart in those short and intermediate games. This kid will just dice you up like Edward Scissorhands. You know what I'm saying? In the hashes between 25 yards and under, he has all of that. He will all the reads. Doesn't have 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got that. He can go through like deep throw, bucket throw. He's probably got one of the strongest arms, and put that on display. Led the nation in passing yards. Led the nation in touchdowns. I think he was 4th or 5th in yards per attempt. Like he's really, really tuned. Had a sour taste, sour vibe around him leaving Ohio State, right, and then going to Syracuse. If you take away the 5, now, hey, listen, you can't just be blind to it. But if you take away the 5 interception game against Pitt, I mean, this kid was nails all season long with lesser talent. In the wide receiver and tight end spot. Aranda Gatson is a guy, but if you step away from Aranda Gatson, we're not talking about top 5, wide receivers in this class that he had to work with. And he was wheeling and dealing. Super quick release. I mean, everybody loved Will Levis's release. I think he's faster than Will Levis. I think it's less than like 2.6 seconds that ball comes out firing. He was one of the guys at the Shrine Bowl who had the most RPMs on the ball coming out of his hand. He's good. Multiple offense, right? Ohio State had a different offense in Syracuse. So he's done it with 2 different OCs, 2 different coaching staffs. He's a leader, vocal leader. He commands the room when he walks in. He's the guy that's going to be there first, going to be the last guy out. So I got McCord at the 4th spot. It was really close for me between the guy at 3. Like there's a chance from here to the draft that I could take him over the number 3 guy. McCord could be my 3 guy. And I've been saying that since Shrine Senior Bowl. But I got Kyle McCord at 3. I mean, at 4, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't have him there, but I could definitely see it. He's definitely a guy that, could get some decent day 3 capital to a team that, could use a backup. He would be a good, you mentioned the Rams earlier, a good quarterback for the Sean McVay system if, Matthew Stafford decides to move on or if he plays, and obviously he's getting older, could be, get some run there. My first sentence for him in my analysis of him has some really nice zip on the ball. So that exactly what you were saying earlier, that velocity is there with McCord. Obviously he went down in competition going to Syracuse, but hey, you play who you play, right? And you still have to put on a show. And he threw 34 TDs and 12 interceptions, that 5 interception game you mentioned. Still a really nice season, almost 5,000 yards passing, 4,760. Like you can't like shake a stick at that. It's solid.
He's not a guy that's going to be throwing on all different arm angles. Okay,
No.
I know that's the new thing that people like, being able to throw. But he is, if you look at a prototypical pocket passer, he's that guy. He can move a little bit out to extend plays. Not crazy, you know what I mean? He's not Josh Allen by any means. More maybe Ben Roethlisberger than and any of those other guys. Like, and that might be just pushing it a little bit too much. Ben didn't really, towards the latter end of his career, he wasn't really running. He would just extend plays in the pocket. I think Kyle McCord could do that. The problem I have with McCord, and this is why I have my guy at 3 above him, when the kitchen starts to get real hot, right? And the pocket starts coming towards him, I think because that athleticism isn't something he can rely on, sometimes the decision-making and the mechanics just falter. We see Pitt. Pitt was coming after him. Pitt's front 7 was bringing everything, and they were getting to him. And we saw that in the first quarter, 2 pick sixes right off the rip. So that is where you can't have that deterioration of your mechanics and your pocket presence when the heat's coming. We need guys like that to step up and get better when the heat's coming down the pipeline. That's reason I have Cam Ward as high as I have Cam Ward. Cam Ward is absolute bull when it comes to sitting in that pocket, just taking the heat. He'd rather you hit him. He dares you to hit him. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think things that he's stacking, I think things that he's done this year from last year, I think GMs are starting to like that, especially with this class not being so wow. You know what I mean? I think some of his traits are wowable. That late second, early third, this guy can sneak right in there.
One thing I will say about our rankings, anybody past like QB 3 or 4, it's all, you could pick your poison of who's who. It doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. I think the top 3 are pretty, especially 1. 1 to me, you can't touch it, right?
Yeah.
2 and 3, you can make an argument. Anything past that, it's like, pick your poison.
Your flavor. Yeah,
yep,
what you like.
exactly.
Yeah. All right, so who do you got it for?
Me? Oh, Jalen Milroe. That's the all upside pick for me. Andy kind of said it when he, talking about it at 5, but, just a dynamic football player. I think coaches probably believe they could fix what ails him and his mechanics issues, because he's an all arm thrower. He needs to bring a little bit of hips to his throwing motion, in my opinion. He needs to work on that accuracy, and I think that's all mechanical. But dude, with the ball in his hands, he could completely take over a football game. You mentioned Lamar, the Jaden Daniels, all those kind of guys. He's in that ilk. Obviously, I'm not comparing him to them because those are, all pro football players. But, if he gets to the right situation, the right coaching, I think this kid has the mentality where he could be a starter.
He's a project. So I have a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to projects a la Anthony Richardson. We've seen a few other guys.
I like that. So I've seen that a couple times with the Anthony Richardson. He has much more under his belt than Anthony Richardson does.
But was inaccuracy with the deep ball.
True.
He's had a strong arm. Inaccuracy with the deep ball. What you do with when you're on the run, what's your first instinct, whether you're going to run or whether you're going to pass. I think he needs to go, like I said, I feel like he needs to go to a team where he has to sit and wait a little bit. I don't think he's a guy that could play year 1. Maybe he can. But
late in the year.
Yeah, I just think my biggest concern with Jalen Milroe isn't so much the deep ball accuracy. It's what I talked to you about in Mobile. I watched this guy. Now, once quarterbacks, we can kind of, maybe they can get taught a little bit better when it comes to the weak side blitz and feeling the pressure. But when you're getting a strong side blitz, which everybody at home, if you don't understand what that means, the guy's coming at your side, you have right-handed quarterback, he's coming right in your face. Okay. When you can't see the strong side blitz and you're getting strip sacked multiple times, I have a problem with that. Like that should be basics for you. That's something you get under your belt and start to get comfortable with before you even start going to reads. Hence, Andy's point has to be a 1 read and go, unless he can figure that out. If he can figure out picking up blitzes, right, and figure out feeling out where the blitz is coming from and seeing it and moving out of the pocket and extending plays better, then I think he has a chance for success at the next level. I think there's something mentally, though. I think Alabama might have kind of got to him a little bit. I don't know. I think that whole situation over there, he says everything right, but it seems robotic to me.
To me, he kind of reminds me of, going back, I'm 34. So the Spider-Man cartoons were always something I watched. It was that episode of Spider-Man where he completely lost his spidey senses and he can't figure out what's going on around him without it. That's Jalen Milroe, essentially.
Yeah. Andy, who do you got at 4?
My QB4 is Tyler Shuck. I really like him. He was a player that I liked before the Senior Bowl. Good size, great arm. He's a player that, when finally healthy, showed and put everything together. I think with him, he is a player that gets to his second and third reads, and I do like that about him. He is a quick processor. And one thing that I usually talk about on my show is that what the NFL wants, they want two things in a quarterback. One, you're either mobile and quick and can get out of trouble, or two, pre-snap, you know where the pressure's coming from, you know where the weak points are, and you can get the ball off quickly. So the one stat that the NFL loves is the pressure to sack ratio. So with Shuck, his was at 9.3 in his only healthy season this past year. In context, last year we saw Bo Nix and Michael Penix both get a 7.6, and they both got first-round draft capital. So between all those things, he's a sleeper for me. I think the NFL is really going to love his size, love his processing, and I think they're going to love his arm. And I think if he is a player that if he goes to a right landing spot with an older quarterback, sits for a year or two, he can then take over and be that guy.
I love it. I mean, like I said, I had him at 5, but the 3 to 5, like it's like Mike said, you kind of can flip him around. I think the kid has done well and finally healthy. I got in a big beef with the guys at CF Nation. I don't know if he was a product of Jeff Brom. I don't know. I'm not a Jeff Brom fan. Okay. I say it whatever you will about him. I just don't think that it was, oh, he brought the best out of Tyler Shuck. I think Tyler Shuck just wasn't healthy when he was at Texas Tech. And when he was healthy, he showed enough to say, okay, yeah, this kid's the real deal. You know what I mean? They put a bag out to return him that second season at Texas Tech. There just wasn't enough money they could give to him with everybody else that was leaving to make his interest worthy to keep him there. So he went to Louisville. I like the kid a lot. I think, and I don't think he necessarily, depending on where he lands, I don't think he necessarily needs the city yet. I think in this 3 to 6, I think he might be one of the guys that you could just plug and play in the right system. May not be successful the first 6 or 7 weeks, but I think this is a kid that could have some success and some positivity in year 1 if necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. QB3. I'll start it off, Mike. I got Jackson Dart. And like I said, him and Kyle McCord are really close to me. A lot of the things they do well. Some of the things are different that they don't do well. Dart does really good. He those a good ball. He does really good in that RPO style system. I don't know. We talked about all the reads. I don't know if Dart is well when it's getting to like read 3 and 4, but those first 2 reads, he's dead on, right? He's got good touch and timing. He's a natural athlete. I have a little concerns when it comes to the footwork. During the season, he looked good in the pocket, but at the Senior Bowl, man, he was kind of all screwed up when it came to being under center, which the next level, you're going to be mostly under center. That's just how it works. Over the time, and me and Vandy had this discussion multiple times, over his time in college, when it came to him throwing these big, deep balls, these balls that mattered, a lot of times they ended up into turnovers, right? Last year and this year, the turnovers kind of went away, but the depth of his targets and him just kind of push the ball downfield didn't. I love that. Me and Eddie have spoke about that multiple times about Dart. In the NFL, he's a quick reading process. He can get the ball out quickly. I just need to see him. I think he's best of all these guys in that 3 to 5. I think he might be the consensus 3 for most people, right? I just need to see because yes, he played in the SEC. Yes, he played in the top tier, caliber defenses. But a lot of it with the style of Lane Kiffin's offense is different than most SEC offenses, right? So it was to get the ball out quick, have running backs that had pass catching ability. Didn't really have to make a lot of those layered throws over linebackers' hands into tight windows. We've seen him do it when he kind of had to. We've also seen him struggle a little bit when it came to that. He good cadence at the line. He feels pressure very well. He can step up in the pocket. He can move around to extend plays. Another guy that's not going to be rushing for 400-500 yards on the ground, but enough to where he can move around to get the play to get to its next read. I like his game a lot. I think he's starting to heat up with guys in the NFL. GMs are starting to really, really like this kid. Starting to see everything, up tempo situations. He's really good in it. Hurry up offense. He's really good in it. He fits a lot of what the NFL wants. And when it comes to making that deep balls passes, he's gotten better and better every season for the last 3 years. So I got him at the 3 spot. Like I said, 1 and 2 for me are locked in with those 2 guys. But I think when it goes to 3 to 7, he's my 3. And from what I see, he's kind of like the consensus 3 across the board. Mike, who you got at 3?
So I got copy and paste what you just said. Quarterback 3 for me is Jackson Dart as well. But my argument is that he's closer to 2 to me than he is to 4, to be honest. I almost prefer Jackson Dart, especially in a fantasy aspect, to Shedeur Sanders, just because, Jackson Dart, looking at the stats here, 586 yards on the ground with 8 TDs this past season rushing. And that's fantasy gold right there, right? But like you mentioned, coming from the Lane Kiffin system at Ole Miss, usually something you really need to be able to break at the next level. That's going to be a learning curve for him for sure. But again, really quick release. To me, he has one of the quicker releases in this class. And I think he can make all the throws. It's just, you mentioned that he has to be able to throw it over a linebacker. He has to be able to, more the lack of a better term, harder throws to make, the NFL caliber, the ones Cam Ward makes in his sleep. Jackson Dart needs to be able to do that, but you need a guy who needs to throw down the field, a guy, Trey Harris down the sideline. He can make those throws in a bucket. I like Jackson Dart a lot.
You got that back shoulder throw. He's got he can lead you. He can lead wide receivers. He doesn't have to see wide receivers get open to make throws. He can throw 2 spots or throw wide receivers open. And dude, 2-minute warning. You need a score. This kid has that dog in him that you need from a QB. You mentioned he ran for 600 yards. That was I think that's his career high in a season. In football. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be ripping off 500 yards at the next level. Maybe get 250, 300, which is great. But this kid he's like I said, natural leader. He's a guy that's going to, when you need a score, you're going to be looking to this guy to command the huddle, command the room. He has that. Can make the pressure doesn't crumble him. We've seen him, me and Avery Olsen, we've seen him kind of earlier in his career falter when he needed to make that pressure throw. But again, as he's seasoned, as he's gotten better, as coaches have tried to bring things to his attention, he's taken the criticism on and developed better. So I love it.
That reared its ugly head this year. Those bad decisions against Florida at the end of the game, where he had 2 or 3 chances to win it.
Three in a row, and he just kept giving it away.
Yeah, exactly. But he was pretty clean throughout the season.
Yeah, Andy, who you got at 3? I think you might have the same guy.
Yeah, so I want to talk about class of 2027 Diesel Dart, his little brother. Everybody says he's the
That's
little
the coolest
brother
name
now.
I've ever
I'm
heard.
telling you right now, he is going to be an elite safety at the next level. He is class of 2027. He goes to Corner Canyon. He is a safety and a wide receiver. I'm telling you guys right now, he will be a 4-star athlete, and he will be a multi-year starter in the Power 4, and he will be a day 2 NFL draft pick. Class of 2027 safety, Diesel Dart.
I love Andy. I love it. I'm telling you,
that's the coolest name I've ever heard in my life.
He's got Utah on lock, people. On lock. All right. That was our QB 3 to 5. The next segment I want to get into, I think this one will be kind of spicy. I'm interested, honestly, Mike, to see what you've got. Who's a guy, right? That's a late round sleeper, maybe even a UDFA that has the potential, to maybe we talked about maybe journeyman, back up, get a spot shot, grab a hold of it, maybe pull a Geno Smith, right? Get, sit for a little bit, find a spot in that second contract and just tear it up. Who's the guy that you really like as a late round QB in this draft?
So we mentioned him earlier, and I hate to do it, but Cam Miller to me has the potential to be that guy. The other guy that came to my mind, when you posed this question, was the Canadian quarterback Taylor Elder. I don't even want to, because I'm going to end up summoning Beetlejuice if I keep saying it. Yeah, like he's got the NFL frame, he's got the NFL live arm. There's going to definitely be a learning curve. I could definitely see him being like a 7th round, maybe not even drafted kind of guy. That's a real project quarterback. Listen, I'm not ever going to say he's probably even going to ever start. But again, crazier things have happened, and he's got a live cannon for an arm, and we saw it firsthand at the Senior Bowl.
Many have stated it about the first read. Andy brought it up today about quarterbacks. Need to have quick reads. Don't need to go through the 3 and 4, read process. They're better when it's quick at the ball of the hands. I got a Tebow S type guy, tough as freaking nails. Blow out both ACLs, comes back, leads Indiana to the playoff. Right.
Yep.
Curtis Rock, man. I think Curtis Rock is a quarterback that 7th round, 6th round, maybe even UDFA, right? Could have a Geno Smith type thing. Maybe the first team that drafts him into the spot, or he has to wait a couple years and falls to the right spot. But you're talking about a guy that get the ball out quickly, guy that's mobile, right? Even after having 2 ACLs, came back this year, was still same Curtis Rock, has that dog in him. He has great timing. Doesn't have to see his guy be open, right? He can kind of throw his receiver open a little bit. Like the short and intermediate game, he's great on. His deep ball, maybe not, but that's something you can work on. But again, is a guy I'm saying on the first 3 rounds, late in the draft, right? You want to talk fantasy? He brings that fantasy capability, a red zone guy that's going to continuously get first downs. So he's continuously be on the field. He's a leader. At the line of scrimmage, you never know whether he's going to throw a pass, right? So he's always a guy that's going to put up points for you. He's always going to keep that offense going. I think this dude, like, obviously I mentioned injury, major concern, right? But he went through a whole year in the Big Ten, gets all the big boys, no injury concern, right? He doesn't have the strongest ball. He's not throwing Dylan Gabriel, zip on the ball, but he throws a decent ball. And the blind side. But I think that mobility kind of offset that. Like, he might not feel it right off the rip, but he has the mobility to kind of get away with it if the guy's coming down his neck. So I think if he lands in a certain spot late, sits in a scheme where they need the guy to get the ball out quickly, doesn't have to go through crazy amounts of reads, fast receivers, man, you could see Curtis Rock have some success at the NFL level.
I like that call. I do like that call. I kind of got to watching him late in getting ready for this, but I could definitely see it. A guy also, we talked about, who was it? Went to see McCord went down in competition. O'Rourke went up in competition, going from, what was it, Miami, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. No, Ohio.
Ohio, sorry, to Indiana. That's a step up in competition, and he tore it up this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, what are your thoughts on both of our guys, and who's the guy that you like, that could be a sleeper?
I mean, when I was listening earlier, you guys were talking about Cam Miller, so I'll probably say Cam Miller. I'll just probably say him. From everything that you guys are telling me, sounds pretty good. I have no idea who he was about 2 hours ago.
Me either.
Hey, listen, a lot of people have that sour taste in them out, from Trey Lance and North Dakota State, but the kid proved it. Like you said, played against Colorado. They were in the game the whole time to the fourth quarter. And Cam Miller was the reason why they were in the game. NFL level, looking for that guy that's mobile, right? Has a strong arm. He plays, like, if you want to go to say, hey, Pittsburgh's looking for a quarterback, right? They don't have a guy. They may sign a veteran, but a guy that they could get in the 4th round, 5th round late, maybe UDFA, that could kind of heavy run scheme, fast receivers with good hands. Bro, he Calvin Austin, George Pickens, right? Fryermuth, Najee Harris, those guys would love a Cam Miller type quarterback. Heavy run scheme in the first year till he gets comfortable. You get the RPO, you get the play action. Guys moving him in motion a lot. I think Pittsburgh could be a good home or a team of that caliber. So Curtis Rock, Cam Miller, guys, check them out if you're not familiar with them. I think you might walk away being like, hey, these guys might have some NFL talent that could make it to the next level. All right. I'm going to hit you with a would you rather. This will be a quick segment. We're almost at 50 minutes. Let's try to keep it at an hour before we wrap it up with Dream Fit. Andy, I'm going to go with you first because I want to see what you got to say here. Would you rather Will Levis or Will Howard?
Taking Will Howard. And for the sole reason is the pressure to sack ratio that I was talking about earlier. With Will Howard, his career pressure to sack ratio is about 12% for all 4 years. And so he is a player that does process quickly. And I do like that earlier you said he kind of reminds you of a Brock Purdy, because when I was watching him, that's exactly who I thought of. A player that has a lot of weapons, who's just a point guard, gets it out early, gets it out quickly, gets ahead of the chains, is mobile, can do the things that you need from a quarterback to kind of game manage that situation. We've seen Will Levis, we've seen him flame out, and I don't think he's going to be the starter for Tennessee next year. So I think with Will Howard, I think he's a guy that I'm definitely going to take.
I love it. I'm right there with you. That was my pick, and I was a Will Levis guy. I've seen too many flip the ball backwards, throwing up on the field, throwing up on your feet, just doing dumb shit to offset some of the big, deep 50-yard bombs that he's posed right on the money. Like, there's too many dumb plays, too many not reading defenses, correctly to offset the deep ball quick release that he had that I thought would translate to the NFL. So I'm with you. I think Will Howard has the possibility to have a better NFL future. Mike, you got the next one. Spencer Rattler or a guy we just talked about, Curtis Rourke?
So I heard something recently that the Saints are pretty confident in having Rattler be the guy. I did not see it at all watching a few Saints games with him, to be honest with you. So I think I'd rather take the re-roll at O'Rourke and hope that he gets, relatively similar draft. What was Rattler, a 4th-round NFL draft pick? 5th?
Yes, I believe he was the 4th-round pick.
So
Saints, yeah.
O'Rourke could possibly get around maybe that 5th or 6th-round capital. Maybe ends up in a similar situation where the quarterback ahead of him gets hurt. And I feel like he's a better processor than Rattler is. Rattler wants to be that gunslinger, and I don't really see it.
I agree, yes and no to certain things. The gunslinger mentality, yes. Early in his career, yes, he just wanted to fire away. If you come back and you got to take in all things, into retrospect, he had the worst line in college football for the last 2 years of his career. 40-plus sacks they allowed. He had to get the ball in less than 2.5 seconds. That will make you look like a gunslinger when you really can't even drop back and set. I think he's the guy, because of a shitty quarterback and injury, had to play early because they had no depth, right? Jake Haener was trash. He was more of a playboy than he was, a quarterback. He wants kissy faces in his poses, his player pictures. Then don't worry about football. So I think Spencer Rattler might have been a guy that had to play just a little too early, made it look like he wasn't ready. But I think maybe as the year went on in practices, when it came to, what they were seeing, got a little bit better. And maybe I'm willing to say that the Saints are more confident in Spencer Rattler than the Tennessee Titans are in Will Levis. How about that?
That's, yeah, probably at this point. I would agree with that.
All right. Last one. I'm going to take the last one. David Carr or Seth Hennigan. Now, before the show, me and my guy Mike, we had a couple conversations, talked about it. He said, this Hennigan guy, you really like this guy? And I'm like, it's a different guy. Go back pre-injury. Let me know what you think about pre-injury. And if you look at him late in the season this year in Memphis, it started to take fruition again. Guy that was mobile, wasn't afraid to take off, right? The guy, when healthy, had that big arm, could make those throws, wasn't afraid to make any read, didn't, middle of the field, got you. I could fire that ball in between a mouse hole. Yes, played at Memphis, so some of the competition was down low. Listen, David Carr was better than Derek Carr. I think I'll say that. Derek Carr was drafted to an absolute shitty situation that nobody ever probably could have came out of. I don't even know if Tom Brady could have came out of that. The Houston Texans had nothing for him when he went there. Okay. David Carr, I hold my breath every time he steps back to throw the ball. Like, I don't know whether I'm going to get a rope or I'm going to get a duck. Is he going to throw it to a spot? Is he going to throw it? Is he even on the same page as his wide receiver? Like, was he supposed to throw the in route? Did he throw the out route? Like a lot. And you see it like, whoa, bro, what the hell happened there? His inconsistency in the pocket. When the pressure comes, happy feet, bro. He's like, he's dancing around like a penguin back there. He doesn't have that mobility to gain yardage, 400 or 500 yards. Maybe earlier in his career, maybe when he was with the Raiders, he might have got you 250, 300. Now, all the injuries stacked up. Yeah, he's a statue back there. When the heat starts coming, he's tripping over his own feet. He's trying to get the ball out quickly. But he's not making great reads.
Right.
I think I would take, and I think the Saints are kind of in that same boat with what we're hearing. I would take the chance on a kid on a young contract and Seth Hennigan than I would with going out and trying to trade for, a David Carr as a veteran approach. I don't know if he's a Ryan Tannehill who's going to get the better of the guy coming in, right? I don't know if he's going to be able to mentor a guy. Do you think David Carr's a mentor? I don't think he's a mentor. I don't know that anybody that's been in the QB room behind him has gotten better once he's left and been able to step up and take over.
His own wide receivers hate him.
That's the thing. Like, the only guy I've heard that likes him is the guy he went to college with, and that's it, right? Like so I'm gonna have to take Hennigan here. I think Seth Hennigan has an opportunity. You know, you got to break all the film down. Scouts are going to do that. GMs are going to do that. First 8 weeks of the season were kind of rusty. He started to get, through the injury rust and stuff as the season went on. But you look at that 2023 tape. You look at that Iowa State bowl game in 2023. This kid was literally wheeling and dealing all over the field, between the hashes, down the sidelines. He was making all the throws, them tight window throws, them bucket throws. He had it. So I think, we'll see how the process goes. Obviously, the combine and the rest of it. But I think I would take Hennigan here. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think I would take Hennigan too. Like we talked about it. I'm not a fan, but I might hate Carr even more than Hennigan.
Yeah.
So I think I'd rather re-roll and hope for the best.
Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with Carr, all he does is throw hospital balls. So I'm not taking him.
No, he's setting up. It's like Olave's gotten hurt so many times on throws that were just set up there for him to get speared like Goldberg, dude. I can't. Like, at least Hennigan, like I said, will throw his receiver open. We'll throw to a spot where the dude's not getting decapitated. Carr's just getting the ball out of his arms. He don't care if his dude's getting killed. So I'd have to go with Hennigan here. All right. Last one. Dream fit. A few of us said last season perfect fit would be my guy Bo Nix would be landing in Denver with head coach Sean Payton in that system. Who is your QB you think would excel in the perfect fit? Mike, I'll go with you first.
So I'm going to go kind of maybe out of the realm of what I thought maybe 2 days ago, to be honest with you. But we've heard some rumors that this team no longer is interested in having the quarterback that they have now. This team is possibly setting up a package to go up and move up to get a quarterback. And that's going to be Cam Ward to the New York Jets. That would raise Garrett Wilson right back up into the stratosphere for me. New head coach, new system. So we really don't know what to expect in a new system, obviously, but I think they've got some weapons out there. They're going to continue to add weapons. They got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Cam Ward could really slice it up out there if depending on the systems, obviously.
You mentioned the Jets. And I think a guy that we talked about, and I have him at the 3 kind of consider. I think Jackson Dart.
Okay,
the Jets
I like that.
Would
That's
kind of be a good fit with the type of with Garrett Wilson, with the type of backs he have, both a pass catching backs. I know they're going to say, well, the guy out of Wisconsin wasn't. His senior year, he caught more passes than he ever did in his life. So, yeah, he can be – Braylon Allen can be a pass-catching back. Breece Hall is a pass-catching back, right? They have 2 tight ends that can catch the ball. They have a guy who can go deep or play, across the middle, and Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams is still there, who is another veteran.
He's in Pittsburgh.
Mike Williams? I thought Mike Williams went to the Jets.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, he's in Pittsburgh.
No, he waited. Deontay Johnson. Not Deontay Johnson. What's his name? Mike Williams went to the Jets, homie. He got traded to the Jets.
Hold on.
And he got hurt, and he was out for half the season. And I'm pretty sure he's still a Jet. But if Mike Williams is there, he'd be a leader for them as well. I think Jackson Dart, him and Jordan Travis can fight it out for QB1, right? And I think
Wikipedia has him currently with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, they must.
They traded for him, or the Jets cut him. After he got pissed, or Aaron Rodgers got pissed, he dropped a deep ball to lose the game. So they
cut a guy they could have used in the future for a guy that's not going to be there in the future. Crazy. Exactly. That's a Jet move if I ever heard of a Jet move, right? Well, then they're going to have to attack the wide receiver room. But I think that Jackson Dart, with the weapons in New York, wouldn't have to trade up for him, right? Possibly get him. Maybe depending on how the first 15 picks fall out. You could possibly maybe get him at the top of the second round. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see because there's going to be teams here that are going to do some crazy stuff. It's going to change the way the draft goes. It always happens, right? They go QB, wide receiver, tight. All of a sudden, someone goes offensive lineman. Then it's a run of 3 or 4 offensive linemen. And someone says, well, I'm not missing out on my defensive lineman on my edge. Boom. Now we get a run on edges. And now all of a sudden, people calling, I'll take this pick for that pick. Jackson Dart, I'm telling you, the Jets might not need to trade up to get a guy that I think would fit their offense and their scheme really, really well. Indy, who's a guy you like in a dream fit?
So when Pete Carroll took over the Seahawks in his first draft, he took Russell Wilson as quarterback. What I think the Raiders are going to do, they're going to trade back up into the first round to get a fifth-year option for this guy, Jackson Dart. And hear me out. With Jackson Dart, he's going to have a good run game. He's going to a system where he can make plays with his feet, with Chip Kelly calling the plays. It's a quick operating system which will work with Jackson Dart and what he wants to do. And then also, he would reunite with Jackson Powers Johnson. Both were teammates at Corner Canyon High School.
My question to you is, are they getting a wide receiver?
Probably through free agency.
Okay. All right. Now that happens, the draft happens first, correct? Yes. Right. So you'd have to promise him or wow him to come there, because right now it's what, Jacoby Myers is wide receiver 1?
They got Trey Tucker, right?
Jacoby Myers is wide receiver 1 right for them right now. I mean, Brock Bowers is obviously wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
But will that continue? Like, will we see a step back in year 2? Well, the healthiness mentally and physically of Michael Myers could that take away some targets or whatever, maybe. Running back. It's like, so I
like Sasir McCormick.
Not if I'm Jackson Dart, bro. I'm not coming to the Raiders and saying, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like there has to be some, and they're trading back up into the first round. You're saying?
Yeah.
So who are they taking with their first round pick?
Probably defense.
Okay, yeah, because they definitely missed on the guy 2 years ago on the edge. You also have a piece that they can dangle to get back into the first round by the name of Max Crosby.
That's a rumor. Yep.
So you take the gentleman who's got a big contract, right? You can flip him to get yourself back into the first round. And like you just said, maybe you take your defense guy to replace him. Abdul Carter, maybe early up in top of the draft. And like you said, maybe trade back up and get Jackson Dart later on. I love it. Let me see. Is there any other place that you like Jackson Dart? I think the Jets are okay. I like
the Rams.
Now, where's the Stafford going to draw that much of a trade package?
The Rams don't have to. They could take them in the back end of the first. The Rams are already at the back end of the first.
So you're assuming. I know I had mentioned it with them. You're assuming that he's going to be there.
Yeah.
At the back end of the first. Okay.
I think so. I think it's definitely possible. Or they can move up. I mean, again, I don't think Stafford's getting that first round capital that they're hoping for, but they're towards the back end. And, I think Dart would fit really well. And I think that'd be all wheels up for Puka Nacua, obviously.
Guys over at Devil Royale, shout out. I know that's where my man Andy is. Like Kevin's over there. He says, Will Johnson and Mason Graham to Oakland in the first, that first pick if they were to trade back in. Hey, listen, they get one of those guys, okay? Now you got a stud, and now you're going to get your other stud. I like that a lot, okay? They are going to have to spend money. But Pete Carroll's not stupid, right? And Chip Kelly, like, going to get the best out of whatever he's got. It's what he does. It's just his scheme works with the pieces. So they're going to get some speed. So I like that. I don't mind that as a landing spot either. It just stinks that we've seen both of these teams be terrible for such a long time. But if Aiden O'Connell can have success in a terrible team, right? I think Jackson Dart can have way more success underneath that same toolage and with the package that he's got. All right, guys, this was an absolute great first episode. Andy, my guy, I appreciate you coming on. I know you are busy as hell. I kind of mentioned a little bit at Devil Royale. That's where you're at, but let everybody know where they can find your stuff besides you being one of the top upcoming scouts in Utah, baby.
Appreciate it. Always got time to come on with you guys. You can find me at Andy_fam1. You can find all of my Devi content with the Devi Royale. Then you can find all of my scouting info and all my scouting stuff at prepredzone.com. I am the lead regional scout for Utah, giving all of the Utah guys some credibility that they deserve.
100%. Me and Andy have talked about guys from 2027, 2028. It's crazy. We've had talks about this. I'm just so proud of you, my man. Like I told you earlier today, I'm glad that you are able to do something that you are good at and love. And now everybody else is seeing it, how good at what you are, man. Kudos to you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Mike, first episode's in the books. Another guy that I want to give some kudos to, man. I met you last year, right? You were kind of on the come up doing your thing. I've watched you grow in a little less than a year. I think everything that you do is A1. I think you just gotta give yourself a little more confidence, man, because you got it, bro. You got it. You know ball. You're a smart guy. You don't copy and paste. You're giving everybody your knowledge, your version of it, the way you like it, and I'm all for it, man. I'm honored to have you as my co-host on the road to the draft for these next 9 weeks, man. How was your first episode?
It was great. I really enjoyed Andy Pham being the surprise Royal Rumble entrant into this. That was a great surprise. But I also want to really give you your flowers. The second day of practice where they had the media thing, I was in my own head a little bit, to be honest with you. So I want to give you, the thanks for the pep talk. Like, I think that's an underrated aspect of what we do. Being people, and helping out people like myself. I really appreciate you and what you do, Nino.
I appreciate that, my man. Listen, I see a guy that just kind of got froze up. I see a guy that, the moment just took over him. But,
the problem was I saw Andrew Siciliano and somebody else to the right of me. I'm like, oh my God, I don't belong here.
Yeah, this is the real deal, man. Oh, yeah. I see these guys on TV. I'm with them. So I get it. But man, I'm, like I said, both of you gentlemen are pleased, and it's a pleasure to be on talking ball with you guys. I'm Nino Brown, CFB Nation. You can check me out on X at __ Nino Brown __. And we got 8 more episodes before the draft. Maybe me and Mike can go live when it comes to the draft and talk a little bit more when it comes. But who knows? We might have some more guests hop on, surprisingly, as we go out for these next 8 weeks. But if you like what you saw, like what you heard, interact with us, click the subscribe button. Again, we love everybody. We appreciate all the interaction, all the subscribers. CFB Nation, we out. We'll see you next week.